Good morning to you and yours, and welcome to the Morning Big on NCBN, Nigeria Custom Broadcasting Network, reaching you live from our studios here in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. It's a beautiful, peaceful, and lovely Monday morning, and it's good to have you join us on the show this morning. My name is Gabriel Onu, and of course, Dorothy is very much in the studio this morning. Good morning to you, Dorothy.
Good morning, Gabriel. How are you doing today?
I'm very well.
I hope you enjoyed your weekend.
I did, yes.
I don't understand. I did.
Okay,
It's
let's
like
hear
you're
yours
not
first.
sure.
Let's hear yours first.
I
What's
actually
yours?
enjoyed my weekend. I had a peaceful, beautiful, restful
Oh, wow.
weekend.
That's
Yeah.
some positive energy there.
Yes.
I
yes,
always
yes.
wish I can say same for myself, but yeah, it was peaceful, not very restful, but it was a good one for me.
At
And I
least.
think I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, at least you had a good weekend. That's all that matters at
Yeah.
the end of the day.
Anyway, the word good is relative. What is good for one may not be good for the other. I don't know if you're able to maybe go hang out with friends, with family or relatives for the weekend.
I'm not the hangout kind of person most of the time. And truth be told, my
Yeah.
weekends, I usually just use it to rest.
To rest.
Yes, so
Maybe because you don't have so much on your plate for now.
yes,
By the time you have so much, I'm sure maybe the rest.
I'm
will be
enjoying
cut
the
down.
time for now. I'm enjoying it. So
Do you know my advice to you? Leverage the moment.
yeah,
To,
make
to,
good
to,
use of
to,
it.
to the optimal level, like finish everything.
Noted.
Well noted. All right, we go on a break and we'll be back to take a look at the big stories that we are bringing your way on the show this lovely Monday morning. Please don't go away.
Welcome back to the show. This is the Morning BUGLE on NCBN, the show where we take you through the latest happenings in the world, in Nigeria. And quickly we'll go into our first story. It says NLC protest, Presidency police issue fresh warnings as 65 groups pull out. You know, we have experienced a lot of protests these days.
Yeah,
there are a lot of people, both the ones that have gone on protest and the ones threatening to
Planning
go
to
on
go.
for protest, because it seems like at this point there are a lot of things that are happening. People are not happy. You know, groups are coming out to speak on behalf of the people.
Yeah.
So I feel, well, let's go through the story and hear what
Certainly,
what it is
certainly,
about.
yeah.
So it says, the presidency again on Sunday warned the Nigerian Labour Congress not to embark on its two-day nationwide protest against the rising cost of living in the country. Also, the police warned against disruption of commercial activities during the protest. Okay. The special advisor to the president on information and strategy, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, and the police handed down the warnings as 65 civil society groups on Sunday pulled out of the planned demonstration, warning against its possible hijack, arguing that it could worsen the deteriorating situation of the country at the moment. So we see that, okay, I could say I understand with the presidency saying NLC should not go on this strike, because of course, you know, it's just one thing that can start another thing.
Let me ask you this. If you were the president, would you be happy that your citizens are going on protest?
No,
So
that's not what I'm
nobody
saying.
wants that to happen.
Of course, I wouldn't
Yeah.
want the citizens to go on protest, right? But then the thing is, somebody needs to come out and speak on
Definitely,
behalf.
and that's why they are speaking. But
Yeah.
let's even get to the crux of this issue, right? These are just like, you know, building on what has been happening before now.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that about 2 weeks ago, the NLC, that is, let me say the organized labor, not because the NLC is just one aspect of the organized labor in Nigeria, came up to give it a 14-day ultimatum to government,
Yeah.
saying that if the rising cost of living is not addressed, if certain agreements entered into between government and the organized labor are not, you know, implemented, they were going to embark on a peaceful protest
Yes.
on 27th and 28th of February. And that is tomorrow being Tuesday
Yes,
and Wednesday
and then
as well.
Wednesday.
Now, this ultimatum expired last week, which was 22nd.
Yeah.
And then I was asking myself, what was going on? We had ample time, that's the government now,
Yes.
had ample time to actually call these guys to a dialogue. If you are saying in 14 days' time, we'll go on strike, and if this does not happen, why not call them? Because we ask and we push for Jojo and not war. Why not call them and say, okay, organized labor, these are your demands. We may not be able to meet them 100% right
yes,
now,
yes.
but these are the steps we are taking to address them. But the last I checked, I've read through the news, I never saw any day within these 14 days where government came up to have any form of meeting with organized labor. We only read in the media just like every other person. I mean, they were talking to the labor through the media, which for me is not ideal.
It's not ideal.
Call these guys to the round table. What are the issues? How can we avoid this protest? Because like I keep saying, protest is the last thing Nigerians want to experience right now. Already we have a very volatile situation. And from the story we read, it says 65 groups put out of the protest. And if you see their reason, they'll tell you the reason is because the country is too fragile to embark on any form of protest. It could be hijacked easily by unscrupulous elements. So what happened in Niger State the other day, where youth had to barricade the road, they were searching vehicles passing, and at a point they even vandalized some trailers carrying food items. Now imagine if there is now an organized protest that these people can cash on, take advantage of. What will happen? So it will not be all go away for the country. Not like I'm supporting these groups that have pulled out, but probably they have certain information that we may not have.
Exactly. Because I feel like the NLC has done their own part to lay out their concerns to the government, to the presidency. They had enough time. The least they could do was, like you said, call these people and have an agreement, sit down and discuss this issue. But it was like the presidency was
kind of relaxed. Not just the presidency. What about the minister?
Exactly.
Because I read in the news earlier this morning where the minister of that is the Attorney General of the Federation, Minister of Justice, Fagbemi SAN, was saying that the NLC should not go on this protest. And the reason is because, according to him, the government have secured 2 court judgments that said they should not go on strike. And I ask myself, the energy with which the government went to the industrial court to get those 2 pronouncements, why not push that same energy into dialoguing with the NLC?
Exactly.
He could work with his employment counterpart, that is Nkiru Kaunyi-Ocha, the Minister of Labor and Employment. Work together, bring these guys together, and let's talk. What can we do? And also, let's go back to this issue of the groups pulling out, right? For me, it's worrisome. And it stems from the fact that over the years, we've seen this level of distrust between Nigerians and the labor movement. Cast your back to the days of Oshomole, when the labor was labor. Remember the famous 2012 Occupy Nigeria protest? We even had our own Mr. President now at the forefront of that protest. The immediate past President Muhammadu Buhari was there. Oshomole, who happened to be a former labor leader, a former governor under the APC, a former senator, a present senator, a former national chairman of the party. These were people that were at the forefront of that protest. So that means they know the power of protest. Right now, the labor has created so much distrust between itself and the people that Nigerians don't believe them anymore when they say that they are going on strike, because they could say one thing in the morning, by evening the tune has changed, and you ask yourself, what happened? What changed? What changed? So there must be this level of trust between the government, between the labor unions and Nigerians. So that when labor says, you know what, we are embarking on protest, Nigeria will take them from their word. And this is not me in any way endorsing protest, right? But of course, it's within the ambit of the law, it can happen. But I am saying that if as an organized labor, you've set aside a day to draw government's attention to some perceived things you think need to be addressed, go ahead and do so. And not all the time, when it's time for the protest or for the strike action, you pull out. Or you say it's no longer happening. Because of that, Nigerians will lack trust in you. The next time you speak, they won't take you for your words.
Because the NLC is like the representative of the people.
Of course, it is.
Exactly. So it says, the story says, further, the NLC president, Joe Ajero, had insisted in a statement on Sunday that the protest would be held on Tuesday and Wednesday as planned. On February 16th, the NLC announced the nationwide protest scheduled for Tuesday and Wednesday over the alleged government's failure to implement agreements reached between both parties on October 2nd, 2023. That's about 5 months ago, following the removal of the fuel subsidy. The decision followed the conclusion of a 14-day ultimatum issued to the federal government to implement measures against the widespread hardship. But addressing NLC's decision to proceed with the protest despite entreaties from various agencies and groups, Onanuga, in an interview, described it as a breach of the law and an illegal undertaking. He said the Attorney General has written the NLC's lawyer that the protest is illegal, so they are breaching a court order if they want to go with the protest.
Do you know why I smile? Because like I noted earlier very briefly, right? The present crop of leaders we have in the country right now, especially at national level, talking about from 2015 till now, they were the same people who were the voice of the opposition and the voice of Nigeria a few years ago, which is quite commendable. Matter of fact, Mr. President has been there even before now.
Yes.
The Nadeko days, he was very, very vocal, you know, telling you that he was not even afraid of the military government at that time. What am I saying in essence? He has been a big beneficiary of peaceful protests in Nigeria. So trying in any way, by any form, to stifle peaceful protests in Nigeria for me is not the way to go. But court order is court order. So between now and tomorrow, this is morning, this is just morning. We still have many hours before tomorrow, right? Will the NLC obey the court order and portray itself as a law-abiding organization? Or will it disobey the court order and say, you know what, government, whatever it is, let it happen? But it's a two-way thing, right? It's encouraged that the NLC obey the court order. At the same time, it's also good that they draw government's attention to the plight of Nigerians.
Exactly.
So which way
Nigeria? Exactly.
So who's going to answer that question right now? You or I?
I don't think any of us is in the place to answer this question. So whatever it is that is going to be the decision of the NLC, we do not know for now, but by tomorrow I'm sure that we will at least know what the NLC exactly will decide to do. So that is what we have for you on this particular story. We'll go on a short break and we'll be back with more stories.
Did you know? On January 1st, 1973, the Central Bank of Nigeria introduced notes for 50 kobo, 1, 5, 10 and 20 naira notes. And in 1976, 75 kobo exchanged for 1 British pound and 60 kobo for 1 US dollar.
Thank you so much for staying tuned to the Morning Big on NCBN and having taken a look at our first conversation this morning, talking about the planned protest by the organized labor in Nigeria and the back and forth of what is happening between government and the organized labor. Let's move on to something which I consider very important, and that is the economy of the nation. Of course, this planned strike is as a result of the economy, to protest against alleged high cost of living in Nigeria. So this next story says, we will not rest until we bring succor to Nigerians. And that is coming from no other person than
the President himself,
Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The story says, President Bola Tinubu says the administration will continue to put measures in place to bring succor to Nigerians. At a tripartite meeting with governors and business people in Abuja on Sunday, Tinubu said that all options would be explored to resolve the nation's socio-economic challenges. The president met with Governor Charles Soludo of Anambra, Dapo Abiodun of Ogun, Aliko Dangote, Abdusamad Rabiu, Tony Elomelu, and Mr. Shegu Ajayi Kadri, the DG of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, that is MAN. And at the meeting, Tinubu said the government was ready to rub hands with all stakeholders to find lasting solutions to the current situation in the country. He said, and I quote, "Let's look at what we are doing right now and what we are doing wrong to bring life back to the economy." Like I said, many times the people of this country are the only ones we have to please. We are very much concerned, from students to mothers and fathers, farmers and traders, in realizing that every one of us will have to fetch water from the same well. He goes on and on. But this meeting yesterday excited me. I mean, between the president, the people mentioned, and the reason it excited me is because the president used this opportunity to set up what he termed an advisory economic committee, which means now officially the president has a kind of team that will advise him regarding the economy of the nation and key decisions to take. And more exciting is the fact that This team is all-encompassing.
Yeah.
Government officials, governors, the private sector. You cannot talk about Nigeria's business environment without mentioning the likes of Abdul Samad, Dangote, Tony Elumelu, and the rest of them. So this is quite exciting for me.
Yeah, I think one thing that I like about what he said is let's look at what we're doing right and what it is that we're doing wrong. What is it that is not working? That's a very important way to look at what is going on currently in the nation, because of course we know that things are not going well. But then things not going well doesn't necessarily mean that the decisions that they have made, like every decision that they have made, is wrong. So it's important that they actually sit and look at these things. What is it that we have implemented? What is it that we have put in place that is working? What is it that is not working? And how can we better the lives of Nigerians? And it also shows that this man actually has us at heart. Like
when you say us now, you mean Nigerians?
Yes, okay, Nigerians.
Both of us in the studio.
He has Nigerians at heart. That's what I mean. Because you know, Nigerians have been we want to hear what the president has to say about all of these things that have been happening. I remember somebody saying the only thing he said is that we're taking baby steps, right? But then it's good that this has been established. This is
like the beginning of the adult steps now, if you ask me.
Exactly. We hope that.
Yeah. So one very interesting thing about this meeting is the fact that the president of MAN, that is the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, was in that meeting. If you remember, a few weeks ago, or was it last week or two, he said something to the president. He said, swallow your pride.
It was last week.
And review your policies where necessary.
Yeah.
And then here we are. And that takes me to my next point. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is someone that, if you ask me, he listens a lot to the complaints of his citizens. He listens a lot. Now, he has said something which you pointed out. The meeting is to review what we've done right, what you think we've not done right. It takes a humble leader to admit that it is possible there are things he has not done right. Because as a commander-in-chief, you have all the powers. And except for democracy, where the National Assembly can question you, you have almost absolute power to take decisions. And it stands. But he is saying it is possible. As a human being, I'm not infallible. I'm fallible. I could have made some decisions that are not, have not all go well for the generality of Nigerians. What are those areas? How can we look at those areas and review them? And like I mentioned earlier, look at someone like Charles Soludo, the governor of Anambra State, former CBN governor. These are people that they are grounded in economic matters. Yeah. So that means probably we may be seeing light at the end of the tunnel. Hopefully. Even though we could have seen the light at the beginning of the tunnel too. Exactly. It's never late. Better late than never. So it is something very exciting. We want to see that this economic advisory committee that the president has set up through this meeting, put their heads together, look at what the common man in Nigeria is doing, and then advise Mr. President accordingly. These key policies you put in place since coming on board, the fuel subsidy, the floating of the naira, and all of the policies. Mr. President, this is where you need to cross the T's and dot the I's. In this area, you've done well. In this area, you need improvement. These are the things we want to see. But then I have my reservation.
you always have your reservations.
Yes, I have my reservations. The members of this committee, majority of them are businessmen. The Tony Elumelus, the Dangotes, these are businessmen. And my fear is the fact that I hope they won't give the president advice based on policies that will help them enhance their own personal businesses and leave the interests of Nigerians behind. I hope that doesn't happen.
We hope so. I hope that is actually something that is targeted for whole Nigerians. Like the president said, he said at this point, we're about pleasing Nigerians. It's not about any other person. It's about Nigerians. What will help Nigerians? So we do hope that this move, it will not just be something that was started and then an abandoned project like we know, but something that would actually go on to help and better the lives of Nigerians as well.
So let me just read a bit more of what the president said at that meeting. He said, we assure Nigerians that we do our best to get our Marshall plans in place and fashion out the best economic future for this country. Wow. Quite, there's a way the president will talk that even if you've not eaten in the morning.
You'll just be satisfied.
Because you just, it carries weight, like I said. The president has enormous powers. And that was why when we were discussing the NLC issue, I feel bad that he didn't call these people to dialogue with them. See, I'm not saying the president should lie, right? Or deceive them. But there are assurances you give them that these guys will not even think of a protest or a planned strike. Because it is coming from the president. This is presidential talk. And if you ask me, with repeated
heavy
talks like this backed up with action, Nigerians will trust the president and see and always look forward to whatever he will say and whatever he's going to do.
True.
So it is what it is, and we hope that this meeting, like we said, turned around the economic fortune of Nigerians.
Yeah.
Because as we know, at the moment, it's not looking very bright for us economically.
Nigerians are going through a lot.
In terms of the cost of living and all what is associated with it. And the presence of the governors, that were Biodun and the rest of them, means that the states are being carried along. If you implement a policy at the federal level alone, and the states, that is the federating units, are not carried along, at the end you may not achieve your aim. That means the president actually thought very well about this by bringing all of these persons on board.
The governors together.
Yeah. All right, so that's the much you can take on this particular story and also the second conversation on the show this morning. We go on a break to bring you Commerce Council. I'll be back with more on the Morning BUGLE.
How to make a financial New Year's resolution you'll actually keep. Recognize that achieving financial goals can be tricky. As much as you'd like to think that improving your finances depends on simple math, it's more complex than just the naira and kobo. It's emotional. Most money behaviors are emotionally dictated. In a split second, our brains make a decision and rationalize it. Talking about money can be hard, which means you may not feel comfortable shouting your financial goals or your challenges from the rooftop. And because you may not feel completely comfortable talking about your finances with others, you might hesitate to tell people about your resolution or enlist a friend to help keep you accountable as you progress. Identify and understand your motivation. We make resolutions at the top of the new year because it feels like a natural time for change. But January 1st isn't a good enough reason to stick with your plans to make a financial change. Instead, you need to consider what the action will do to benefit your life down the road. Rather than saying, I'll make a budget in the new year. For example, dig into what having that budget will do for you long term. Maybe it will give you peace of mind that you can pay all your bills each month. Maybe it will allow you to see opportunities to save more. Aim for small improvements. If your resolution is too big, it will be hard to see your progress. You need to self-examine so you can bring specificity to your resolution. Setting a SMART goal, which is an acronym for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound, requires that you set parameters around the behavior you're trying to change. Breaking bigger goals into smaller resolutions can help make your progress more attainable and allow you to see results more quickly, even if that progress is small. Instead of drastically reducing your spending across the board, set a goal of reducing your spending by 10% in January. If you hit your goal by the end of the month, repeat the experiment in February, or adjust your goal so it's more reasonable for the next month. Once you figure out how to spend 10% less per month, you can experiment with ways to reduce your spending by 15% or 20% each month. It may take longer to reach your ultimate goal, but your change will be more sustainable over the long term. Ditch your all or nothing mindset. Once the clock strikes midnight and you turn the calendar page, it feels like the pressure is on to succeed right away. Take the example of someone who wants to reduce their spending. Say in January, you're able to reduce your spending by 10%, but in February, you're only able to reduce your spending by 7%. It may feel like you failed because you didn't hit your goal number, but you're actually still succeeding, even if it's to a smaller degree than you planned. Your path to success may not be a straight line, and that's okay.
Welcome back to the show. That was the Commerce Council. We hope that you enjoyed today's edition of the Commerce Council, and we hope that you have actually received advice for your own self concerning your finances, even in this tough situation that we have found ourselves economically as Nigerians. And that is all we have for you today on the show, on the Morning BUGLE. We do hope that you will join us again for more interesting stories. My name is Dorothy Beninga, and of course,
My name is Gabriel Ono. Thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of the day.